This is a show that brings to the forefront newsmakers, entertainers, and those making a difference in our lives and in our world. Each week is a new adventure with topics ranging from the most serious and cutting edge to the most lighthearted and entertaining.
This is Taking Care of Business with Richard Solomon.
Greetings, everyone. Richard Solomon. I am honored. I am truly honored to have on the phone with me Kate Taylor.
Yes. Richard, the honor is truly all mine. And hello to all your beautiful listeners out there.
Well, thank you for being a part of the show.
Thrilled.
So let's talk about the breaking news. The breaking news is that you'll be performing at the legendary My Father's Place. Although this is not the original My Father's Place, is the one down the road a piece. But you'll be playing at My Father's Place, and it must be very exciting. That's a great piece of music history to be a part of, and the sound system is unbelievable there.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. We're going to be there Thursday. What is it? Thursday, August 2nd.
August 2nd. That's correct.
Coming right up. But I tell you what, I played that joint. I played that the original.
Right, the one on Bryant Avenue.
Yeah. Back. Oh my gosh, it must have been. Well, I don't even want to say. It was way back, 76. I don't know.
Do you remember?
So I was at the old place, but I've heard such great things about the new space, and I'm utterly excited to go in there, and I'm very excited to be on the show with Jeremy Clyde, because he's cool. His songs are so beautiful, and he's really a wonderful singer and performer. He's a great storyteller, and you're looking at a very a class act. This guy is a jewel. So I'm thrilled to be on the show with him.
So how did this come about? You're from sort of New England and North Carolina, and he's from Britain. So how did that all work out?
Let's see. Well, part of my heritage is New England, and then if you take out the New, you've got England, and then there's Jeremy Clyde from England, and then that's how we met. No, actually, what happened was James. I was introduced to Peter Asher by James Brother James, when we went. I went to visit him when he was recording his record for Apple Records. I went to visit him in London, and he took me over to the Apple offices there. And man, that was amazing. I met Ringo in the stairwell.
Oh wow!
You never forget your first Beatle. The Rolling Stones were rehearsing in the basement, and I sat on the floor and listened to them rehearse. I was probably I could have reached my toe out and touched Mick Jagger. That was cool. Then I met Peter Asher, who was producing James. At the time, he was producing James's record. So then, a number of days later, or whatever in time there, James and I went out to this party. There was a afternoon tea party at Peter's place in the country. It was beautiful, English cottage and these ancient gardens, and there was this, in the backyard was this stone-lined, really old swimming pool that was empty. And James and I went down into the bottom of that swimming pool and started singing some songs that we, had sung since we were kids. I think one of them was Mockingbird, everybody have you heard? And I can Charlie and I the Fox song. Anyway, so James, we sang a little bit. Little did I know, I had no idea this anybody was really even listening or anything. I wasn't thinking about it. But I went back home, and after a few weeks, I get the telephone rings, and it's Peter Asher telling me that he's moving to Los Angeles, and did I want to make a record?
Wow.
So I said, let me think about it. Yes. And flew out to L.A., and, it was an amazing time to be in Los Angeles. There were so many, it was this was 1970, 1971. There was this hotbed of just this music that was just about to, flower all over the, country and the planet. Jackson Browne and the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt, Joni Mitchell, James, Carole King. It was an amazing time to be there.
So you moved to Los Angeles?
It was before all of those people really, or right when they were just making it big.
So did you catch any of them at little clubs
Yes, I saw Elton John do his first show in America.
Is that right?
At the Troubadour.
Did he play Country Comfort?
And he did.
Is that where
That's where that came from. I heard that show. I was recording my record. I went to that show. I was blown away by Elton John. I said to Peter, because Peter, was my manager. He became my manager and producer. So I said, Peter, I heard that Country Comfort. And, as much as I loved being in L.A., I was missing New England. I was homesick for New England. So when I heard Country Comfort, it really made me feel, made me feel good.
Wow.
It reminded me of home. So I asked, I told Peter I'd love to record it. He said, well, I know Elton John's manager, and I will let me see if I can arrange a meeting. And so we met, and I asked Elton if I could record his tune, and he said, absolutely. So that's why we put that, Country Comfort on there, which we're going to be singing at my father's place on Thursday. So Country Comfort. Then what happened? Like 6 or 8 years later, this guy Elton John has like an incredible memory. I'm at like Radio City Music Hall or something, and I'm watching the concert, and you know how they have these. There's an outer hallway at the theater, and then there are these little rooms you can kind of go into. This sort of like the circular lobby, but then you can go into these little like bar areas.
Right.
Well, anyway, I looked in one of those, and there was nobody in there except Elton John. And I said, I'm going in.
Wow.
So I went over and just to say hello, or to I couldn't believe my chutzpah, but I went, and he said, Kate, how are you? It was unbelievable that that years later he would know my name and know who I was. I was floored.
Wow.
Anyway, so I did his tune, but how come we started this particular story?
So did you play Country Comfort at the original My Father's Place?
No, I probably did. But
cool. But you're saying, okay, so you're going to play it. You're going to
play it on Thursday night.
On Thursday. All right. So this is kind of cool. So while we're on the subject of all these influences, let me ask you a few questions. So when you were first asked to make an album, go out to L.A., did you have an album kind of ready, or did you start furiously writing once that all started breaking out? Well,
at that time I was not writing songs, so I was covering people's tunes. And James wrote me a song. I don't know if he wrote it for me, but he wrote a song which he gave to me to be the first person to record, which was on that record. It's called "You Can Close Your Eyes."
Okay.
And then we did a couple of Carole King tunes, and this was just when her Tapestry record was just being released.
An amazing album, and
even to
this
define
day.
that particular era. I mean, unbelievable. So, but what an incredible person and songwriter. I mean, God. So she came and played on my record.
Oh, wow.
And let's see. I don't know. Gosh, I can't remember. I did last fall. I did a little tour of. It was called Sister Kate Revisited, because that's the name of that record, was Sister Kate. And so I went back, and this is like 45 years later. I went back and sang all the songs off that record.
Well, what did that do for you? And were you able to interpret? Did you interpret them differently, given all kinds of things that may have happened in your life, including motherhood and things like that?
Yeah. Well, it is art. It's a progressive disease. I mean, even if you don't sing the songs, your life is on a regular basis, because I hadn't sung some of them since then. So, but your life experience adds to the mix. So yes, you can sing them at this stage in life, and it's like, whoa, I was able to see,
different dimensions.
Yeah, dig a little bit, have them be a little bit, dig a little deeper with them. But I think there's some that okay. Well, there was one song that I recorded on there, which was Howard. It was a song that was written by Jerry Ragaboy, but it was made a hit by Howard Tate and was called Look at Granny Run. And so I have resurrected that song in my recent set, my last few years, because now that I'm a grandmother, which is, like the blue ribbon of life, I love to sing it, Look at Granny Run Run, because it makes more sense singing it as a grandmother than singing it as a 20-year-old, which I was at the time that I recorded it.
So let me ask you a bizarre question. Let's say you were to take those tapes from those days and then sing along with it as a duet. What would that sound like to you?
Oh, my God.
What would that sound like to you? Not to the audience.
What a cool idea.
Because it would be like you'd be doing a duet of your past and your present together.
I know, the wiser elder singing to the young whippersnapper.
It makes some really interesting harmonies.
Love that idea, Richard. That's awesome.
So speaking of grannies and motherhood, things like that, did you just sing like amazing lullabies? I mean, your lullabies really had to be completely different than the lullabies in other parts of America.
Had to be good. Had to be good, or else, I think if anybody sings a lullaby to their kids, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't miss.
So speaking of motherhood, while we're on the topic, on your website, KateTaylor.com, by the way,
yes.
It's an incredible website. It's very inviting, very friendly, very, very open. And there's nice things in there. In fact, one of the nice things that's on there is a track called Luckiest Mama.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, you got the whole crew in there. You got your two daughters, Liz and Aretha, and,
yes.
and you got your granddaughter, Fiona. So how did that all come about?
Well, I had my two greatest hits, namely my two daughters. And I realized at that point, that was like my second daughter was born in 1981. So I realized at that point that I wasn't going to be doing the same amount of traveling and performing, because your attentions have to be going elsewhere, and so
and the sleep deprivation.
But anyway, so it's all good, but it was a different kind of the priorities we had to be were in a particular place, so. But it gave me the opportunity, like I said, I hadn't done any writing before when I recorded Sister Kate. And then a few years later, I did a record with James in New York for Columbia Records. That was called Kate Taylor. And then I did a record in Muscle Shoals with the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, produced by Barry Beckett. Then I, did some touring, and then, I had, by then, my second daughter. And I realized that now that I was home all this time, that I might as well start to do some writing and, learn the guitar, do some writing, and see how that goes. So the first song that I wrote was that Luckiest Mama song.
That's on your website. It's a great song. Now,
and we just recorded it for the first time, 81 to whatever we're in now, 18. We just... what is that, 41, 81, that's 20, almost 35, 40 years or something,
wow.
Since that thing was written, but I got it recorded, and yes, now my two daughters are on it, and my granddaughter.
How did you corral them all together, and how did you encourage them to be a part of this?
Well, the ham gene,
So it was like, you want to record a song, and they were like already on the way to the recording session
right.
before they said yes.
Do not stop, don't stop me now. I'm on the way, but then they're brilliant. My daughters are, amazing, and one of them graduated from the Berklee College of Music, and she's, just knows, tons of stuff, and she's an amazing singer, and she's the mother of two daughters herself, so she's, but she is, and she and my daughter Liz, oh my God, they sing like angels. And there's something about singing with them that is so comforting and so, reassuring and sweet. I mean, oh my God, I love it.
When you record with people like that, like your family, is there just like an unspoken communication that allows you to do things that maybe other collaborators can't do?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. As compared to what?
And so just like.
But I do think that there's just a familiarity, that where and we've the musical kind of, I guess maybe just the experience of the types of music that we've sung together. Like, I mean, they heard me play the Staple Singers on Cloudy Day record almost every Sunday for their entire lives.
Wow. And
so, so when it came time for us to be singing, it was like we all just jumped into our parts, and that was it. I've been singing, at least one of those tunes off that record, ever since. And you don't knock, I sing, and they sing along. And, so we, and then my granddaughter. Well, a couple of years ago, I did a show on the vineyard here where I live, and my daughters came to join me on stage. And my granddaughter, who was 4 at the time, she came out and, sort of impromptu and joined us and joined her mother on the stage. Well, she enjoyed it very much, and the crowd, of course, loved it. And then last summer, I was presenting a show on the vineyard, and my daughters were coming to sing with me. And I said to my granddaughter, who was now, she was 7. Oh, wait a minute, was she 7? Yeah, 7. I said, okay, Fiona, you can join us on stage, but you've got to have a song. You either have to you have to do something. You got to do some singing. Either it's like background, vocals with your mom and your auntie, or I'll give you a whole song, your own song. But here's the thing: if you're not, we'll see. You can practice and practice, and if you're not, if you feel ready, if you're ready, we'll do it, and if not, we'll keep working on it till the next time, and you can do it. So anyway, so she worked on this kind of secret thing, secretly and all by herself, So I said to her, what do you want to sing? She says, I want to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So she gets together, like we're rehearsing with the combo. She gets up to the mic. It's the first time she's been on a mic, I think, in the rehearsal room, and she sings the song with the guitar player and rehearses it a few times. Then she comes to do the sound check. She gets herself all situated on the stage. She does the sound check, and then she comes out and just utterly nails it.
Wow!
On the show.
Wow.
And then we did it for 2 nights. So she came out the next night. She came and did another sound check, and then she came, real pro. And then she did the show. So yeah, the tour continues. I mean, it's unbelievable. I've got all these amazing family members, like my nephews. Isaac Taylor and Ben Taylor. They're incredible songwriters and beautiful singers.
In fact, I want to talk to you about that right after this quick break. We'll be right back. It's Rich Solomon, Kate Taylor.
Hi, this is Rory Cosgrove, and you're listening to Rich Solomon on WCWP 88.1 FM.
All right, Richard Solomon, Taking Care of Business and My Father's Place Radio. And we are with, and I am honored to have Kate Taylor, and we're continuing our discussion. So you were talking about the musical writing of all the family people. And one of the things that you were mentioning was Ben Taylor. And I saw something, I think maybe on YouTube. It was a recording session not that long ago with maybe you and Ben where you were recording a song.
Yes, that's right. Oh, man, he is an angel, I'll tell you. And he and David saw his pal who plays beautifully, and sings. They accompanied me, and we recorded. Let's see, I'll never let you. What's the name of the song? It's a Carole King tune, and it's a "Crying in the Rain."
That's right. Yes.
Crying in the Rain, and oh my God, he plays it so beautifully, and it's a wonderful song to sing, and so my daughter actually made that little video.
Yeah, because I noticed that it was more like a documentary of a song than a recording session recorded.
Right, she's a documentary filmmaker, and she does these little. She's had this channel called DocuTunes. And she'll do a tune. She films a tune, but then there's always a backstory kind of thing, and so just like that version of "Crying in the Rain," with Ben, and she's done a lot. She's done a lot more with Ben, and she's done with my nephew Isaac, and a number of other people. But those are worth checking out. But she's But anyway, so Ben is wonderful, and he's an incredible songwriter and singer, and then like I mentioned, my nephew Isaac, he's my brother Hugh's son, and he's just got a new record that he's completed, and it is just stunning.
And maybe we have to get him at My Father's Place also. You know,
Taylor's in My Father's Place. I mean, you know, he's great. I mean, you know, it's just these Taylors. You know, we there's just too many of us, and we keep making more.
Well, that's all good. Speaking of, just going back to your daughter for a second, who's the documentarian.
Yes.
Did she not release a documentary called Keepers of the Light?
Yes, she
You want to talk about that for? Yeah. We do our research here. We actually know. Yeah.
I am impressed. I am, because this film that she's just completed. Well, she had the world premiere up at the Gayhead Cliffs where we live. There's the town at the westernmost tip has got this iconic and famous lighthouse on it. It's Gayhead's the cliffs, and there's this lighthouse that was built, the 1800s over there on this bluff of land, and it brought such good news to the town, which was at that point all Wampanoag. It was a native. It was like a native territory, and having this lighthouse there brought some prosperity and some work, tourists into the town, and it was very good for the community. Well, anyway, so she has captured all this history because she grew up under the beam of this lighthouse, because we lived right next door. It was like it was the ultimate lawn ornament. And then she becomes a filmmaker, and in the last 3 years, there was this big effort in town to raise $3 million to move the lighthouse from the edge of the bluff because the cliffs were eroding. So this big effort was that the lighthouse was moved, and Lizzie made this film about the lighthouse and all so much history about the keepers, the different keepers, and the different lenses that were in this lighthouse. The Fresnel lens, which was like made out of prisms, and then whale oil versus kerosene, and then electricity, and the story of this place and what it meant to the community. It's just beautiful how she's made this piece. And anyway, we had the world premiere up at the foot of the lighthouse, and Ben and Isaac and I actually sang some lighthouse themed tunes up there to open it up. Then it just opened at the Woods Hole Film Festival. It just opened the Woods Hole Film Festival, and she had a sold out show. And she's going down in a week or so to Staten Island, where they're having the big lighthouses of the some sort of lighthouse foundation, National Lighthouses group, that's having their annual meeting or something in Staten Island. So she's going to play it there.
Oh, wow. Because we have two in Long Island. There's one on Fire Island, which is where like Robert Moses State Park is, and then there's one all the way out at the end at Montauk.
Oh, really? Yes. Oh, I'd love to see that. I'm going to be out on the North Fork, I think.
In fact, it is. I believe, if I remember my history, I believe that George Washington actually visited the one out in Montauk.
No.
Yeah. One of those.
Oh my! Yeah. So, God, we'll have to go there and rub the belly of that lighthouse. But anyway, so where were we?
We're talking about all, as they say in Yiddish. We're getting the whole geshtick there. We're doing it all. So we're just going to skip around. So speaking of iconic people, you had on your website that you played Crystal Blue Persuasion for Tommy James, who's in the audience.
Can you believe that?
You got to tell me about that, because that is just really, really cool. Because you were talking in the beginning about all this great music, in the 60s and 70s and all this stuff. And here's somebody, everybody knows Tommy James and the Shondells, and here you are, he's in the audience. So did you know he was in the audience at the time?
Well, I think yes, I did. Okay. I'll tell you what happened was I was invited to sing a song with him, background or something, on a show that he was doing to celebrate his 50 years in the music business out in New Jersey at this big performing arts center, outdoor performing arts center out there. So it was Joan Jett, there was the Cowsills. He was very close he lived in the same apartment building as the Cowsills when those two acts were, coming up. So he, and the Cowsills and I, Gary U.S. Bonds was on that show too. But anyway, the Cowsills and I sang on Crystal Blue Persuasion. So while I was learning the song, I thought, man, this song is all right, So I decided that I wanted to learn, wanted to put it in my act. And so I had sung it a few times on stage, and then I brought it into the cutting room. We did our show in there, and there was Tommy James in the audience, and oh my God, it was like it was like singing Country Comfort for Elton John.
I was going to say, because that. So, are there times when you want to put on the fake glasses and the mustache and the funny hat and sneak into a concert of somebody else's just to watch them as a pure fan, just sort of like, on the edge somewhere?
Oh, there's nothing like live music. I mean, it is just such a blast, isn't it? I mean, I love going to hear live music. I can't sit still. You know what I was at tonight?
Tell me.
I'm out on the vineyard. There's a gal who puts on. She does the choreography and the direction and the all the production of this of an opera every year. And it's a tent. There's maybe 100 folks in the audience, and the cows are out in the field, and the lightning bugs are flashing in the distance, and these people, these unbelievable singers, are out there. There's not one microphone. They don't need a mic, but I mean, you're practically in their lap as they're singing, and I was like blown away. So there's nothing like, the live event of something like that. I mean, it's just spectacular. But so that's why everybody should come out and see my show whenever they can, because they won't be disappointed.
So how do you capture the live experience in a studio?
Well, that's such a good question. I mean, some people, I think, are really good at it. And, one thing that I've thought is, that maybe, a lot of times you're recording a song that you haven't sung that much before, then you take it on the road and you do it, 100 times or whatever, and you get deep with the tune, and, you get the ins and outs. And so, if you were to go back and do it again, you might, it would have recorded again. It would have a different, quality to it. But
you talked a little bit before about Muscle Shoals and different places. Do different, and in being in Los Angeles, different studios must have different vibes. Is there any particular studio that you really enjoyed or you felt?
I loved them all. I mean, I love them all. But they all have a certain quality because the same. There's a certain quality about all of them that is the same, which is that the engineers are these people who really know sound, and they know their machinery and their the wires and the cables and the mics and all this stuff, and they know, and so they're really performing this engineering task. It's very, I mean, it's up to the artists or whatever, to the musicians to play the music, and these people, a lot of them probably are musicians themselves, but these engineers, they're out, they've got a job to do, recording it well, doing their job well. So every studio I've been in sort of has that vibe about it, that it's not that everybody's serious, but there's something serious going on. They don't want to lose a take or they're about the business of recording it. So, but there are some places that are sort of kind of cushy and comfortable. And I was the first place that I recorded when I made the Sister Kate records in Los Angeles was this place called Crystal Sound. And I was in there one day recording, and who walks in but accompanied by two older gentlemen, a 10-year-old Michael Jackson.
Wow.
He was coming in to look at the joint to see what to see how he felt about recording there. I mean, this guy was in charge of his career at 10.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So what was it like being in Los Angeles versus either North Carolina, or New England? Because it has to be a completely different feel.
Well, it is. I mean, it's a whole other place. But it's kind of, for me, it's sort of, unreal. I mean, I love being there. That it's warm. It's really hot all the time. You just step outdoors and pick an orange. I mean, God.
Did any of your living in L.A. redirect your sound at all? Or give you kind of an influence that you picked up from there as opposed to other places?
Well, I think my leanings in my musical choices, that kind of were influenced mostly by coming up in North Carolina, with a soup song of, coffee house music on the vineyard in the summertime. But in Chapel Hill, we were surrounded by, the regular AM station with all the pop rock and roll hits on it, the top whatever. Then there was country, gospel stations, the blues, and it being in Chapel Hill, because it was a university town, or it is a university town, there was a lot of great music that was coming through there. Some beautiful halls to play in, and folks who were interested in going. So Ray Charles, or James Brown, Jose Feliciano. There were just some great acts that came through town. So we were surrounded by all different kinds of basically American music, but wonderful different types of American music, and I think we all, coming up, just absorbed all of it, and everybody has all of that in the music that gets dished out today. James is his influences were the R&B and folk and country, and Livingston too. So it's and our brother Alex, he was an extraordinary singer. He died in '93, but his voice was just like the mountaintop. He was king. He had such command of the stage, and his voice. He could have done opera. He just had this instrument that was just bigger than life, and wonderful, wonderful singer. And he sang. He leaned towards the blues, and he traveled with. He made a record in Macon, Georgia, and he traveled with the Allman Brothers.
Wow.
But man, for years I could say to the Neville Brothers or the Allman Brothers. I ran into them in the airport one time when I was traveling during that Sister Kate time, that tour. And I was in the airport, and I was sitting at the lunch counter, and these guys sat down next to me, and one of them had so I noticed a tattoo he had. It was of a mushroom. And I knew that was the Allman Brothers. So I looked at him and I said, my brother Alex. And he, bam, that was it. That was like the golden words, Wow. He was the passport to,
We only have 1 minute left in this segment, but do you remember the first either 33, 78, 45 that you actually purchased? That was given to you, not that somebody shared with you, but something that you actually went out and affirmatively purchased?
Yes.
What was it?
Party Doll.
Who did that?
Buddy Knox.
Ah, interesting.
Come along and be my party doll. I learned how to bop with that record.
Wow. And we only have just 30 seconds. Who did you listen to growing up? What kind of stations? AM, local music, or more just bigger city stuff? It was like college stuff.
Well, we had the big AM station. FM wasn't really when we were kids.
Yeah.
It wasn't until we were in high school and beyond that FM sort of
hit. Yeah.
Hold. But AM we listened to. In those days it was just the rock and roll. It was a great era for radio. For pop, for music, for American music, because it was we were all listening to the same things. All across the country, everybody was listening to My Baby Does the Hanky Panky. I mean, it was just so great. But we, but also there were smaller stations that were playing country or bluegrass, and on the television set there'd be the Grand Ole Opry or the Porter Wagner show or these different country music shows, and it was just rich with the different kinds of music. But I remember I realized after brothers Alex and James had a band in high school called the Fabulous Corsairs, and they played, I guess they call it beach music now, and they were good. And they played around the state, different sock hops and things, and frat parties and whatever. And they wrote a couple of tunes, which they went to Raleigh, and they recorded these songs. And when I heard those songs on that AM station, I said, anything's possible.
Wow. All right, we'll be right back. Keep it locked in. Rich Solomon, Kate Taylor. Hold on. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Anastasia Zotos from Athens, Greece, and we listen to Richard Solomon on our computers, and we love it.
All right, Richard Solomon and the amazing and truly beautiful Inside and Out, Kate Taylor, on the phone, and we're talking about all kinds of great stuff. One thing that kind of just always, you kind of grew up in the analog world, and now we have all this digital stuff, including social media and things like that. How is that better or worse in terms of recording and sound? And do you miss vinyl? I mean, Jeremy Klein.
Back to mono. That's what I say. I mean, it's just. I think. When CDs first arrived, and we could hear things digitally, and everybody was so impressed with how clean it all was, how pristine the sound was. And all of that's true, but there really is something about putting the needle in the groove and having that analog motion of the vibration, going through the needle and up into the thing and making the speakers move, rather than, ones and zeros or whatever that is. That there's something about the analog that just, it's like you can reach out and touch it, and you don't get that same quality. It may be just in my head, but that's the way I feel about it. However, the miracle of the digital is that, like, for example, I can send somebody a song instantaneously, and it's great. I mean, it's not that, the quality of it is fine. It's great. It's, and also, like, I can put it on something on my website, and people can, just go and listen to it, and it's just opens up so many possibilities as to how to reach people. And so there are good things about both, and there have been difficult things about both. I think we had a golden era of music, during our recorded music, when before digital, because it was, there were just these relatively few places where you could record something, and so you didn't have that many, like avenues to record and get your music out. So, but there was such an infrastructure there for people who did get to that beautiful place, being able to make a record. There were radio stations that were all across the nation, and if you had a hit in Pittsburgh, somebody in Philadelphia would go, "Wow, that song's hot over there. Let's try it out on our people." And then you could kind of make a hit. And the DJs were, had this personalities, and they were, these trusted, music gurus that we would listen to and get our fix from, our musical fix. And then the great thing about albums too is that you could sit down and you'd listen to a whole side, and you could read the album and see who was playing on it and who wrote the songs, and it was a different era. Now with the digital, it's the potential is just magnificent, and but it's sort of, it's not as centrally. Maybe I'm just not plugged into. Where do I go to know what people are listening to? To know what's out there.
Do you still buy vinyl?
I have not bought a vinyl in a long time, but I also have not bought a CD either.
Okay. Do you still have your vinyl records?
I do.
Do you take them out once in a while?
Well, I do take them out just to glowingly admire, the artifact. But my turntable isn't plugged in. I got to get that thing plugged in. You're really making me want to do that, to get it plugged into my sound system so I can hear the records. I love to go into those places where they sell old records now. The stuff you can find in there is so great. I found that Ray Charles album, that country album he did. Love that record.
So what are you going to be playing at My Father's Place? You kind of hinted a little bit at one of the songs.
I'm going to be there Thursday, August 2nd.
And what are you going to play? What
am I going to play?
Yeah, what are you going to play?
I'm going to play, one of the records that I listened to as a kid all the time was, or one of the singers was Etta James.
Ah, sure.
Oh, I sing an Etta James tune, and I sing a James Taylor tune, probably on the show. I mean, I'm going to, I'm sharing the bill with Jeremy, so I've got to restrain myself from going, from doing too much. But I have a couple of songs I wrote, and I have, like that Beautiful Road song. I do that one, and
that's a great song. That's just a great song.
The beautiful song. It was written by a wonderful singer-songwriter by the name of Erica Wheeler, and she lives up in Western Mass. She's a beautiful, beautiful songwriter, and I love that song. I was making my record. My kids were big, and the recording gear got smaller, so I, woke up one morning saying we've got to make a record, and we pulled the band in and started making this record, Beautiful Road, and life happens and stuff goes on, and it was like 6 years later that we were finishing it, and in that 6-year period, I got a chance to meet Erica and hear that song, and I asked her if I might, record it, and she said, by all means, and so I got to record that thing. It ended up being the title track of that particular CD.
Yes. So
and then I did a record of all. My next record was called Fair Time, and it's a record of all songs that I either wrote or co-wrote, which was a kind of a goal of mine. I really wanted to,
dig deep,
get into it. It's fun.
So
and now I'm just kind of thinking, about. I want to make a plan. I want to make a new record, at least some kind of collection of tunes. And there's got some new ones that I've written, and then just ones that I love to sing. And so I hope to get to that pretty soon.
Well, if you do, would you be kind enough to have somebody call me so we could maybe premiere that on our humble radio show and actually maybe play little pieces of the tunes and talk about all the things?
I would so love that.
Right, I would be honored to do that. I've done it with a couple of albums where we actually premiered some of the songs, world premieres and things like that.
Oh my goodness, Richard, that's so awesome. That really is something to look forward to. Thank you. I'd love that. So
we'll put that on the calendar. So, is there a chance, by the way, that you're going to do a duet with Jeremy Clyde?
Well,
is there something in the secret planning stage?
Well,
are there whispers?
I've done the show with him just a few nights ago, and we did sing a song together. And it is fun to sing with him.
I'll tell you, the show that you guys are going to do, you in many ways, you should probably videotape the show because, there's some of your stuff is on YouTube. Like there's an 08 Martha's Vineyard concert up on YouTube. I think.
Oh, right. Okay.
And that's it's really nice to watch you do a whole performance because, sometimes the rest of us can't get out there, to watch it. Now, so I have to ask one question, which we kind of talked about in pre-production. There's a song called "Stop the Wedding."
Yes.
Right now, hopefully, as I kidded around with you, hopefully tomorrow there won't be a song posted that says "Stop the Radio." But So, but what was the genesis of Stop the Wedding?
Well,
and Two Hearts Breaking and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's Etta James tune. She sang that song on one of her first, an early recording that I, heard 1,000 times, and always loved the song. And I don't know who wrote it, but man, it's fun to sing.
It's a great song, and you sing it beautifully. And you sing it very heartfelt, and it's very sad. It's got like a tinge of sadness when but appropriately so.
Right, right. You know what? Well, I'm not gonna. I kind of set the song up, and I look forward to presenting it at my father's place. Oh yeah, it's fun to sing.
So when you perform, what are the venues like? Nowadays, are they better? Are they worse? Are the sounds better? I guess there's all kinds of challenges. If you do an open air theater, you're dealing with sort of wind and weather. If you're dealing with small spaces, you can't maybe have as much of equipment on stage as maybe you'd like. Because like my father's place is not the biggest stage in the world. I mean, it's only 180 seats compared to other places. When you do a tour, from the artist's perspective, what is putting all that like? As far as this is 180 seats and it's got this kind of sound, and these people don't have this kind of board. This is a little bit outdoorsy, so we're gonna have to deal with echoes and this and that, or wind. So how do you have to? And do you change your song list to accommodate that?
I have not, but I think it's probably a good idea to think about that in certain situations. For different kinds of settings. Like if there's folks drinking and they're having a good time and they want to party, then you don't want to necessarily. They like a good ballad too, but you want to give them something to hoot and holler with. And but no, these places, you know what? It's amazing how good the sound generally is in all these different types of places. The equipment is advanced and technologically refined, and there's usually a really great sound person on the board, and yes, every place I guess is different, but they all, well, they've got to be good. They got to be good. They got people coming through there that want to do their best, sound their best, so they deliver pretty well. That's been my experience.
Just to circle back, does the album that you're working on have a working title as of yet? If it's too early to say anything, that's okay too.
Okay, well, yeah, you know what? Maybe I don't have a working title as yet, but you know what? I thank you. That kind of really puts it makes it more real to have. Have you got any ideas for a title?
Well, we'll talk about that on Thursday.
Right.
I'll have to think about that. But
okay,
what would you say is the dimensional shift between this collection of music versus maybe others that you've done?
You mean what I'm gonna record?
Yeah. What's the focus?
Higher, lighter, brighter, deeper.
Maybe that's the title.
Deeper, more fun.
Deeper, more fun. That could be cool.
Deeper and more fun. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a good start.
Now, so you're doing a little bit of touring this summer, right? So other than my father's place, where else will you be?
I'm going out to L.A. I'm going to do the show at McCabe's in Santa Monica with Jeremy, and then we're going to do a couple of nights out in the valley, a venue out there.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it. And then I've got a show in Western Mass in the beginning of September, and I am actually working on a little string of shows. I'm going down to North Carolina in November.
Wow! Any television coming up?
Not that I know of, but maybe you know something I don't.
But I
don't have any TV coming up.
But I've seen some of your TV clips. Like I saw a clip where you were with John Denver, and everybody sang with John Denver as the family. Do you remember that, or did I get that right?
Oh, wait a minute.
And then that was kind of cool. And then there was one where the whole family sang.
Sang on the Today Show?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
That was very cool. In fact, we played that in the car today.
That is so amazing, that clip. I mean, my God. Well, you see my brother Alex who was singing bass on that. Oh, beautiful. Anyway, that was like, to get us all together in one room. Oh, my God, what a fabulous piece of footage that is. And we also did a concert all together for the benefit of the South Street Seaport Museum back in August of 81. And it was right on the dock there at the South Street Seaport. And we were looking straight up, whatever street we were at the end of, whatever avenue, straight up Manhattan. And we did this show. It was unbelievable. And the night before it, we had promoted the show on the Tom Snyder Tonight Show.
Yes, because he was like at 1:00 in the morning or something like
that.
Yes.
So there was, we did three or four numbers on the Tom Snyder Show, which are archived somewhere. They're somewhere online. Yeah. And then we went down and did the show the next night, and the place was just packed. People were hanging all over the pier. It was awesome. That was a beautiful night. Oh my God. From
time to time, we only have a minute left, but from time to time, do you ever go back onto YouTube and look at any of these clips and reminisce?
Well, I tell you, I did go back. Somebody showed me that there's a footage of me in Central Park in 1971.
Okay, I think I saw that one. Yes, and it was packed.
Oh my God! Hey, little girl with your red dress on, that you can barefoot all night long. Anyway, that's crazy. I actually went. I was when I saw it when when it aired on television back in '71. I thought, oh my God, I've got to get my feet on the ground. But when I see it now, I go, man, I was having a good time.
Well, and this was, and you were part of the explosion of amazing music in America. And
it was awesome.
And for that, for the fans who may not be able to tell you personally, on behalf of myself and all of those fans, thank you for bringing tremendous heart, tremendous music, vibrance, beauty, melody, depth, to our lives. Because if it wasn't for the people like you out there, the soundtrack that we know in our heads and live through would not exist to the extent that it does today.
Oh, you are wow! Can I? Let's see. I want to have a little tape recording of this.
This is being recorded, but for those people who don't get to say it, as somebody on the radio who sort of interfaces and I get a lot of feedback. People say, "Wow, and so on behalf of those people who will be telling me how awesome it was to hear you, to experience you, and get to feel like part of the conversation, I know those people will be thankful. So I'm just saying, on behalf of all those people, and myself included, thank you for doing that. And thank you.
Man, you just filled me right up to the brim.
Well, and I'm looking forward to the new album. So
all right, excellent. I look forward to debuting it on your radio show.
There you go. So instead of goodbye, we're going to say to be continued. And
continued.
And for everybody else, we'll see you next week. KateTaylor.com.